Hey there, guys. So today we are going to be learning about seeing form and what that means. So when you're drawing things in space, it's important to sort of look at objects in a three-dimensional sense. And seeing those things starts with understanding the four basic forms. So as always, guys, make sure you put your name up here at the top. I'm just going to write demo, but to include your name. This is activity 2.1, so we're into the second unit now. And remember, there's a link to a demo, which is the video you are watching. So basically what this says here is that there are four basic forms, and they are a sphere, cube, cone, and cylinder. Now, what that means basically is that these are the four basic forms. In a nutshell, you could basically sort every form out into either one of these or an assortment of them. In other words, maybe, an object is a cube and a sphere. Maybe part of it's more cubular, maybe part of it's more spherical, okay? So it's kind of about just seeing objects for what they are in a 3D sense and sort of drawing through the form, okay? So you can see over here some examples here of like what we mean. Like, okay, here's the cube and here's the lid to the box. So in this activity, you're going to be doing some sketches, okay? These shouldn't be forever drawings. Don't spend an hour on each one. But what you're going to be doing is looking for objects in real life. So maybe find two objects in real life first, and then, you're going to sit down and sort of look at them. Now, what we're looking for is the basic form of the object. So I'll start with my water bottle here. And I know you guys can't see the whole thing in one piece, but it's more of a sphere. I'm sorry, a cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead and set this out in front of me, and I'm just going to be looking for its basic form. So I know it's super tall and skinny, okay? And it's sort of sitting in space like that, right? And I can kind of draw the table behind it if I want. And this is just the basic. There's no detail here, right? Question I often get from students is like, well, why don't you draw the bottom if it's round like it is, right? Well, we could, but that sort of looks out of the reality, okay? When you have a round thing like this and you turn it flat, you can see it starts to look more like an oval, okay? So when you're looking at something from the side, even though we know it's round on the top here, okay, I can see that when I'm looking at this from the side, you guys see how much of an oval that looks like? So you have to sort of pay attention to like, okay, well, how am I viewing this thing? Now, when it comes to the object, I'm going to go ahead and start with my basic form, just sort of observing and understanding. But then I'm going to break it down. So near the top here, it's a little bit skinnier, okay? And then there's like a black ridge here and the little loop piece, okay? And then it comes down. And then I've got some stickers on here. And you can even, if you want to shade, but you don't really have to at this point, okay? But there's my water bottle, okay? So that's about as far as you need to go with that one. I'm also going to draw this guy. This is just your regular old mouse, right? When I look at this, the form is sort of tricky, right? Is it a sphere? Is it a cube? Is it a cone or a cylinder? Well, it's not really round, and it's definitely not a cone or a sphere. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to guess that this is a cube, but it's not going to be like this kind of a cube, right? I'm just going to sort of draw it as I see it here on the table, and it's set out in front of me sort of flatly, right? So I've got my side of the mouse, this side, okay? So I'm kind of looking at it at a side. I see a little bit, and it's sort of sitting in space like that. It's really kind of flat and wide, all right? So it's almost like a cereal box laying down on its side, all right? Now, some of you are like, Miss Ernie, how the heck are you seeing a cube here? Well, we've got four sides, two long sides, two short sides, so it's sort of a rectangle. And then it's got sides here, right? So it's got sort of a six-sided surface to it. So that's what I'm going for, okay? Now when I draw this the next time, I want to kind of look for some more specifics. So I'm going to draw this form here, okay? I'm going to sort of draw it lightly. And then I'm going to start looking for the details. So it sort of curves and it curves up. But you can see I'm purposely pushing this thing into the box. I'm making sure it stays in there, right? Because that's my overall form. There's a little wheel here. There's a little button. Okay. It sort of curves like that. So there's my mouse. And again, you can see how similar, right? Pretty good here. So in this last section, now I want you to choose one of the objects that you drew, and I want you to sort of push yourself to give it a little more detail. So I'm gonna go with the mouse just because my water out. I mean, I guess you could turn it this way if you have a really tall object and you want to draw, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna draw for you guys here. Okay, so here's my mouse sitting in front of me. And again, I'm going to try and get that rectangle shape in there. Decide what goes where. Sort of in that space like that. Okay. And yeah, that's good. And now I'm just really going to start. I'm going to put a little more detail into this one. But you can see I'm still sketching at first, right? Remember, sketching is sort of a, you know, it's almost a playful draft type thing. You're not, this isn't permanent yet. I'm also going to be, you know, drawing lightly here just so I can get the hang of what goes where. And I'm looking at my object here in front of me. I know you guys can't see that, but I'm really paying attention to what's going on. This kind of comes down. Okay. So as I'm finalizing and starting to further understand these marks, I'm going over them, okay? And then what I'm going to do is start shading. So there's a cast shadow. I can see it under here. Okay, so that's what it says. You're shading in your cast shadows. So I can see my cast shadow sort of sitting in this realm. But you guys can also see I'm doing this rather quickly, and I'm really just focusing on the observation part. Okay, and I notice there's like a dark edge here, and it's sort of darker over here. Your object's going to be different, but it's good to just kind of watch somebody do this so that you can kind of get the hang of what's, you know, what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing, right? So I'm just looking at my object, and it's sort of darker over here too. It sort of comes to a shiny top. I'm going to go ahead and add some darker lines in here. And, you know, it's good to include the table in there somewhere. If you don't have a table edge, maybe just decide what value the table is and sort of shade around it. What that'll do is kind of give it some context. And you can even use your paper towel to blend like we did with our sphere. So I can use my paper towel, and then I can draw with my eraser. So I can see there's a really light spot here. This eraser isn't so great. Let's try this one. Yeah, this one's much better. Okay, there's some light stuff over here. And again, you know, this is normal part of drawing is, you know, understanding what's where, how this works, and then getting your values and then deciding, you know, how do I finalize this? How do I make it look more finished? So this is your shading. And this is kind of what I'm going to be looking for here is that you're just drawing the object and you're trying to understand how the values relate to one another. You can see this. These are lighter, so I'm trying to get, and you can see how much light this silver mouse is picking up here, okay? So while it doesn't need to be exact, the exercise really is going to be about you trying to understand what's going on. Okay, how the values relate to one another. So that's pretty good there. Okay, I'm just gonna pull this cash shadow out just a little bit more. Okay. So this is how this sheet's going to go. I'm really just looking for, pick two objects, decide on their basic form first. So you can see it says, what is the basic form? And then you're going to try and redraw that basic form, but add some more details. How's it fitting into space? Choose one of those, and you're going to sort of duplicate it down here with some values and some shading, just trying to get the hang of how this works. And you can see some examples over here, basic form and some objects. Okay, so this is really good practice just for seeing and understanding things in space. Alrighty.